Evil Dead Rise maintains the same level of extreme gore, horrific visuals, and all the strong aspects that made its predecessors such powerful and memorable installments in the horror genre. And why not, when one of its executive producers is none other than Sam Raimi himself, who first unleashed the famous Evil Dead over 40 years ago. What up peeps, and welcome back to a new review video. This time we are delving into another horror masterpiece, Evil Dead Rise. And of course, a quick reminder first of major spoilers coming ahead, so if you haven't seen it yet, you know what to expect.
Mom? Mommy's with the maggots now.
What will be.
The story starts with some young people spending time in a cabin near a lake, but they don't get to enjoy their time much when one of them is shown to have been possessed and proceeds to kill the rest. I liked how the tense build-up and the possession was shown by the girl finishing the words in the book that her cousin was reading. For me it was so original and I already felt invested in it. But that build-up was topped off by the fantastic revealing of the title. It showed that this was going to be a loud, intense extravaganza with some epic sequences in it. The story then brings us to a family of 4. Ellie is a mother living with her 3 children in a flat in a building that was scheduled to be demolished, and the family is then joined one night by Ellie's sister, Beth, who decides to come and spend some time with them after having a moment of reflection about her life choices. On the same night, however, an earthquake strikes their area, revealing a vault room where a bank used to be. The room is discovered by Danny, whose curiosity ends up leading most of his family to their doom eventually. Danny goes inside the room and brings the infamous Book of the Dead, along with recorded vinyls that explain what the book is about, and of course include the incantations that unleash the demons into the real world. And that's when the fun for the viewer but disaster for the family begins. The interactions between the family members and siblings were showcased quite nicely, as we see how they're very connected together. They argue and complain about each other, but they also laugh and joke together. Each of them has their own personality, and the movie brings that out in them very well. And it also showcases the modern family dynamics and mindset of the current generation as well.
Crazy, obsessive fans over there.
Did you drink snake blood?
Hey, that's culturally insensitive.
What about monkey brain barbecue?
Oh yeah, that's so much better, Dan.
I honestly laughed at that scene because it was spontaneous and played a little with the ideologies of teenagers nowadays. And that connection between the family members in their scenes together was good enough for me to root for their survival, except for Danny, because of his obvious stupidity, for taking that book that clearly doesn't look like something you would want to take home with you. When Danny plays the recordings and the incantations are then recited, the intensity starts off with a few horrific scenes and jump scares until it gradually builds up to the gory scenes, and the movie doesn't hold back on its use of the horror and gory elements in it. It shows no mercy whatsoever to any characters caught in the middle of the carnage that night. And there was a scene in particular that reminded me of the first Evil Dead and the latest remake as well, and it was made in the same terrifying way. When the first possessed person or deadite in the movie is locked up in a basement or outside the house, and another deadite is attacking one of the living victims, and you see the first deadite getting ecstatic and hysterical while the attack is happening. These scenes are always terrifying and give me the chills every time, and I love the fact that they included one like them here too. But despite all of these great aspects, there was one aspect that I was waiting for it to be explained after the evil spirits were unleashed, in particular when Beth was listening to the rest of the recording from the vinyls. The sequence of her locking herself up into the room and playing the recordings was brought up as if it was an important sequence that might take the plot to a different direction and reveal the solution to stopping the demons. But there was nothing explained more about what can be done in order to get rid of them. It was only reaffirming that this is how the rest of the plot is going to be, as the priest kept explaining in the recordings how his colleagues were possessed one after the other. I was expecting that he would mention a solution that he might have found, especially since the demons were locked up in the first place and had to be unleashed by reciting the incantations from the book. In the first Evil Dead movie, we see that the deadites were disposed of by throwing the book into the fire, which resulted in them melting off. And in the second part, the evil spirits were also removed by reading some additional passages that resulted in opening a portal that sucked all of the evil spirits into it and away from the real world. But it didn't mention here how the spirits were locked up in the first place, at least to give a bit of a picture of their origins and how to deal with them. And although this aspect didn't take much from the fun of the movie for me anyway, I just kept thinking that since the evil spirits were locked in the first place with the recordings in the vault, then there must have been a way to lock them again or expel them, and that it would have been explained by the priest. Moving on anyway then to the climax, which was maniacally brutal. And I totally agree with Tony Baker when he said that horror actors don't get enough credit for the gruesome scenes and shockingly disturbing sequences they are put into. I have to give massive respect to the 2 actresses who were in that elevator scene, especially the little girl. That must have taken a lot of effort for them to shoot that scene and get soaked in all of that slimy red liquid and still maintain their expressions. And the movie only gets bloodier from then on, when the last survivors eventually face the mother with her son and daughter, all conjoined into one massive horrific monster, who is then killed by grinding it in the wood chipper, and Beth finishing off the beast with a chainsaw, in the same way that the protagonists used the chainsaws in the previous movies. That ending was a terrifying roller coaster, and I enjoyed every bit of it. And for me, that definitely solidifies the Evil Dead franchise as one of the most powerful and best choice for anyone who enjoys this genre when it's used to its fullest. So for my final score, I would give it 7 out of 10. In the end, let me know, what did y'all think about this one, and what rating would you give it for yourself? Do you think this installment comes to the same level as 2013's Evil Dead or to the original one? Or is it better or worse? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and I would very much like to read what you have to say about it. And until I see y'all in the next video, thank you very much for watching, have a splendid day, and peace out.